Welcome to Rebooking, the series where I look at horribly booked WWE storylines and wrestlers and make up a scenario about how I would do them. Retribution. One of the stupidest factions that WWE has produced in years. Don't get me wrong. There was definitely some potential, but changing their name to T-Bar and Slapjack was a nail in the coffin for the group. They tried making it relevant again by introducing Mustafa Ali as its leader, but ultimately they botched it again. Now they get regularly beaten up by the Hurt Business and the Fiend. Wasted potential indeed. Alright, my turn. Alright, so first off, no masks, no T-Bar and Slapjack, none of that nonsense. In my booking, Retribution has 9 members, 6 guys and 3 girls. Here are they: Shane Thorne, Diamadin, Dominic Dijakovic, Cameron Greaves, Dexter Loomis, Killian Diane, Mia Yim, Mercedes Martinez, and Rhea Ripley. Yeah, putting her in this will make sense, because I need a main event caliber women in the group. Alright, so the first time that the group will show up is at Payback. The main event is Keith Lee vs Randy Orton. As the match ended with Lee winning, a group of 6 individuals walk up with kendo sticks and chairs in the backstage locker room and beat everyone up. Male wrestlers, officials, employee, everyone. They make their way into the ring where they beat up Lee, Orton and the announcers. At last, Dijakovic looks at the camera and says, "The revolution has begun." Next Raw, the commentary team reminds us of what happened last night and state that a lot of security have been hired to take care of the group of vigilantes. However, in the main event between Lee and Orton for a #1 contenders match, they again attack both superstars and commentary team. Dominic then again looks at the camera and says, "You know exactly what we want, don't you, Vince?" The 2 Raw after this, Retribution do not interfere at all. That gives Vince and all high confidence in their security. The next event will be Clash of Champions. The main event is Drew vs Randy in the ambulance match. After a 15 minutes brutal match, McIntyre opens the ambulance doors to put Orton inside, but inside the ambulance, 6 people are already sitting. Of course it's Retribution. They beat up both Drew and Orton, and when security comes out to stop them, they get in the ambulance and drive away. The next 2 weeks they don't show up, but it is obvious that the Raw roster and management is very annoyed at the group and the company for not stopping them. 2 weeks later, the Raw main event would be Asuka vs Lana. As Asuka won, the Titratron shows that 3 female wrestlers with kendo sticks and chairs beating up the female roster. Then they beat up Asuka and Lana, and Ripley stared at the camera and said, "How much do we have to destroy for you to listen to us, Vince?" The Raw before Hell in a Cell, Vince came out and said that all the people in Retribution are former NXT employees who came to him and wanted to get moved up to the main roster, but Vince said no. And this is why they keep beating up everyone. At the next pay-per-view, that is Hell in a Cell, the main event was Drew McIntyre vs Randy Orton in a Hell in a Cell match. McIntyre wins, putting an end to their feud. However, after this, Retribution came up and beat up Drew and Randy again. Dominic took up a mic and said, "Hey, Vince, let's have a talk tomorrow about why we actually are beating everyone, shall we?" Next Raw, Vince is in the ring calling out Retribution. When they came out, all of the members stayed outside except Dominic, who went inside the ring with a smile on his face. Dijakovic says, "It's nice to see you again, Vince. You definitely look good. I don't look too shabby myself, do I?" Vince is visibly angry. Alright, I will get to the point. You told them only half of the story. We came to you and asked to be in the main roster. You said, "No, SmackDown is now full and no more wrestlers are needed." When we asked about Raw, you laughed at our face and told us that we aren't good enough for Raw. That stuck with us for a while. And you know what? Maybe you are right. Maybe we are not good enough. But you also thought Kofi Kingston wasn't good enough. You also thought Daniel Bryan wasn't good enough. Maybe, just maybe, you aren't good enough now, Vince. Vince is now pissed. And that's why we have been wrecking all of the Raw superstars, because, you know what, they aren't as good as you think they are. Vince asks what he needs to do to make them stop. Dominic says title opportunities. Vince laughs and says, No way. Dominic smiles and says he thought Vince would say that. They walk away. Vince is left confused in the ring. At the end of Raw, Retribution beats up Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, which forces Vince to give them what they want. Vince tells them that they get 3 title shots at Survivor Series, and tells Shane and Steph to make the best men's team from Raw, which will face 5 members of Retribution in a traditional 5v5 elimination match. So the matches made for Survivor Series is 1. Asuka vs Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. 2. Baszler and Jax vs Mercedes and Yim for the Women's Tag Championship. 3. Drew McIntyre vs Dominik Dijakovic for the WWE Championship. 4. Styles, Lee, Strowman, Riddle, and a returning Mustafa Ali vs Retribution in 5v5. There are other matches also, but they don't matter at all. Before the pay-per-view, rumors are spread that Riddle will betray Team Raw to join Retribution. Here are the results for Survivor Series. Ripley wins the Raw Women's Championship. Baszler makes Mercedes pass out to retain Women's Tag Team Championship. Dijakovic defeats McIntyre fair and square to become the WWE Champion. As of the Survivor Series 5v5, in the end, only Riddle and Ali are in the match for Raw, and only Cameron Grimes and Shane Thorne for Retribution. Ali hits Riddle, which gets him eliminated, and then Ali gets a mic and says he forfeits. Dominic walks up to the ring, takes the mic and says, "I relinquish the WWE Championship and give it to Mr. Ali himself." Ali takes up the mic again and says, 3 years. 3 years I spend in this company and never, Vince, never did you give me a shot at any world championship. So, sometimes, you need to take things into your own hands. The revolution has now, finally, reached its goal. The final shot of Survivor Series is Ripley and Ali holding up the Raw Women's and WWE Championship respectively. Ali would hold on to the title until WrestleMania, where he will drop the title to Daniel Bryan, the person he was supposed to face at WrestleMania 35. As of Dominic, he would be the one to defeat Lashley for the US Championship, starting the Retribution vs Hurt Business feud. Ripley would be one of the top heel female main eventer, and Mercedes and Yim will be in the tag divisions. The other wrestlers will be upper and lower mid-cards as well. And yeah, that is it. This is how I would have booked Retribution. Be sure to let me know if you like it and tell me what to rebook next in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, that will help the channel massively. See you in the next video.